Well, hello, Courtney. Welcome to the Passionista Podcast. I'm so excited that you're here, girl. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. So tell all the listeners, all the Passionistas, which by the way, you may not even know what that is, but you are completely a Passionista. You fit the profile. All right. So tell all of the girls a little bit about you and who you are.
Let's see. Okay. So, I was first a ballerina. That was the majority of my life for a while. And then when I decided to retire, I got into the corporate world and I got into fashion. And so I worked in the corporate fashion world for 10 years. And I can get into that whole story a little bit later, but pretty much went from there to starting my own business. I've been in business for 6 years now. I'm now a mother she'll be 1 year and a month. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So I can add that to the description of me as well.
Talk about that work mom life.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if I'm the expert at that yet. So,
yeah, none of us are.
Yeah.
Nobody is. Nobody figured out.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much run a sleepwear brand. And yeah, live in California, my family, and I was born and raised in California. So.
Okay. So you're being like super humble right now. So I need you to for real, tell us the deal. Like you're living my dream life in California. Okay. You run this incredible company. Tell us a little bit about the name of the company and it's luxury pajamas. Okay.
Yes.
So everyone that knows me, follows me on Instagram and the podcast, I am a pajama connoisseur. Okay. So I cannot wait to try yours out. Working from home, I feel like you better step up your pajama game.
Yeah.
It's all about that. So, okay. So tell us about your company.
Okay. So, I started the company basically when I was working in the corporate world. It was long hours and, it was just, I can tell you a little bit about that, which is, I got pretty fed up, and this kind of relates to what you do and the stories that you tell. So I think that this part you might find interesting. So I got a little fed up with the corporate world. One, in that the industry that I was in was male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
And two, in this very important fact that your future depends on the confidence level of the person that you report to. So what I mean is, if you have a boss that's insecure and they're responsible for your advancement, they're going to most likely do things so that they maintain their position and that you maintain yours.
Right.
So for me, that's a big problem in the corporate world, where there aren't checks and balances, where it's just left up to one person. Now, I've had the experience where I've had wonderful bosses that were super supportive, but in the end, it wasn't like that. And so my last 2 years in the corporate world, I was helping launch new brands. So I was working this tough job and was kind of building the brands with very little help and wasn't getting a lot of recognition, I guess. So that combined with this feeling that there was something bigger out there for me, I just didn't know what. I kind of, in this moment in my life, I was constantly trying new things and not following through with most of them, or failing at most of them. And I had people in my life at that time who kind of looked down on that, who believed that I was searching because I was unhappy. And yes, maybe I was searching because I didn't feel at peace, but at least I was doing and moving.
Exactly.
Versus, waiting for that something to fall on my lap.
Girl, you are so speaking my language right now, because this is what I teach my gals. It's if you want to find out what you're passionate about, take action, be willing to fail.
Exactly.
You may not like any of the things you try, but at least you tried it. And so many people are waiting for that, the clouds to part. God's going to talk from heaven and say, this is your thing.
Right. And trust me, I've asked the universe for signs along with all that, but I think it can relate to anything in your life. If you're unhappy about something, I believe in movement. I believe in just, even if it doesn't make sense, just doing something to get there instead of sitting and complaining. I'm a good complainer too, so don't get me wrong. But okay, so anyways, I was trying all these things and failing. And I think you might relate to this story. I was very inspired by Sarah Blakely's, the founder of Spanx, her CNN interview. And maybe she talks about this in other interviews, but I happened to see this one and was really touched by the fact that she said that her father encouraged her to fail. So I hope to do that with my daughter. But she said their father would sit them down at dinner and say, okay, how many things did you fail at today?
Wow.
And so, I loved that story. So anyways, in the corporate world, trying a bunch of things, nothing's working out. And then all of a sudden I bought myself a nice set of sleepwear, and it changed me in that I was like, wow, I feel better. Like I'm wearing the equivalent to how I treat myself during the day at night versus like throwing on sweatpants. And I was like, I feel special. I'm getting into bed feeling like I worked hard and I deserve this. It's like getting into clean sheets,
Yes.
The best.
Yes.
You wake up in the morning, you feel pretty. And so I'm like, gosh, why haven't I been getting more of this? So I went out to, I had a decent paycheck. So I went to my favorite department stores and online, and I'm like, okay, let's get more. And I was shocked to find that there was very little out there that I felt was fashionable. To me, it was a lot of like lace and bows and plaid and like ice cream cone prints. And I'm just thinking like, what is going on in the sleepwear world? Like, since when did like kitty cat prints since when is that like acceptable for when did that become the norm?
Like we're probably like offending so many people right now that are like that is the norm. They're like, I wear that. That's so funny. We want you to step up your game, ladies. If you feel better, I promise. Like for me, it's like I've almost gotten to that point. Like I've got this ratty old like Willie Nelson t-shirt and like my sweatpants from like Police Academy. And I only keep those because that's what I do my self tanner in. So you like have to have something that doesn't matter. But it's so funny. Okay, so go ahead. Yes, like we want to get rid of the kitty cats and all of the things.
And hey, I had that too. So don't get me wrong. And I still I own a pajama line, and I still don't really wear the silk very much. I live in the knits, so I'm not fancy pants at night, but I feel better. So anyways, I thought of this idea. I went shopping. I couldn't find anything. And I was like, wow, I should do this. And then my immediate thought after that was, it's just another one of your ideas. It's going to go away in a few days or a week or whatever. But something in me clicked, and something in me never stopped. And so ever since then, I have been like, had this steadfast tenacity, like this crazy drive and vision and passion that I've never experienced before, that I actually didn't know I had inside me until I found the thing that clicked.
Yes, that's so good, man. And I think it's like there's such a difference, and what you're describing right now is so important. I really want the listeners to understand this, is that like there's a difference between what you are really passionate about and what you're just excited about.
Right.
There's a difference between, oh, that's cool and excited and it's something new, versus passion, because passion is what's going to drive you to figure it out and to do all of the things and to not quit. So keep going.
Right. Well, and I think it's tough. It's like I always say to, if I've spoken to someone who's coming out of high school, going to college, or going, to college into the real world, it's like life doesn't happen when you want it to. It's like it's difficult to know exactly what you want to do at these moments in your life. It's I think the only thing you can do is just open yourself up to brainstorming as much as you can and trying as much as you can, because I don't know, I think life happens as it's supposed to and when it's supposed to. And as long as you're open and ready, then you're prepared for when it does come.
Yeah.
So I started so I was working in the corporate world for a full year and kind of working on Maison Du Soir nights and weekends. That was for a full year. And then I took the leap and quit my job, and I started the business, with $25,000, which is absolutely insane. I think had I known how difficult it would be, I probably wouldn't have done it. So ignorance has been bliss for me in that regard.
That's right.
But at the time, I read a lot and heard a lot and listened a lot to inspiring stories. So, hey, FedEx, they started with nothing.
Yep.
They started from zero. I read, of course, Girl Boss.
Love that one.
Yeah, I did love that as well. I like to be honest here, especially if we're talking to other women and trying to help.
Absolutely.
I had a hard time with that book in that, and maybe many books, it seems like, the business grew so fast, it doubled. And the next year we were getting a bigger space. And the next year we needed a bigger space. And the next year, it's like, to me, I sat back and I said, well, that's not my story. My story it's been wonderful at times, but it's been very difficult. And I haven't needed or had been able to get a bigger space year after year after year after year. But what I have done is I've persevered and I've stuck with it. And I think that's, as important if your story isn't the same. If it's really something that you want to do and it's really something that you believe in, just because you haven't made it to the benchmarks that maybe you're comparing yourself to others doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you and that you're not going to have a different story.
Absolutely. That is so good. And I think that I'm so glad you brought that up, because so many women quit because they're like, it's not happening fast enough, or it's like they've got this idea of success that it's got to be this huge, big, you've got to grow so fast, and bigger is not always better. And like your journey is your journey. And I'm so glad that you brought up like the reality of like, this is not a bucket of rainbows. Like this is not fairy tales and unicorns. Like there is a reason that people choose to not do this because of the transformation that's involved and the perseverance and all of the things that you learn along the way. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I would want our listeners to know, it's like, don't waste time in comparison to yourself, and also understand that this is probably going to be way harder than you anticipated, but it's worth it because of who you become.
Yeah. And I mean, even when you said in the beginning, you're being humble, let's talk about how fabulous. And hey, we all know Instagram, and it may seem fabulous. And at times,
this is real life.
And times it is, but it's, it's very difficult. And I like to be honest and open and talk about how absolutely difficult it's been for me. But at the same time, I need to push myself to find gratitude in everything as well, and be grateful for what I have. I've been able to be home, working from home with my daughter for her first year. I've been able to have freedom and been able to be my own boss. And there's wonderful things in that. So there's, it's balancing the understanding that you have to, be dedicated and hardworking and persevere and understand that it's going to be difficult. And then it's understanding like what good things it's bringing you as well. And that's just life in general,
Yeah, absolutely. So open up and tell us then, like, what were the biggest difficulties or the difficulties that you've had up to this point, or maybe that you're experiencing right now?
Yeah. I would say I'm experiencing it right now. I would say that, first, having a baby was very difficult for me. I had postpartum for, I don't know, a couple months. And I was also sick in the beginning of my pregnancy. So working was like, I couldn't even get out of bed. But I did it. I made it through. That was last year. And then trying to balance being a wife, having a family, being a mother, and working. And this is my business is my first child. So I feel like I have 2 children, maybe 3 with the husband. Just kidding. I hope totally kidding.
Oh, I love it, girl. Everybody feels that way.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that I had a tough year. I would say the retail industry is really tough right now as well. And I have, I think, a well-priced product for what it is, but at the end of the day, it also is a little on the expensive side for sleepwear. And when most people put their money towards things that people are going to see. But trust me when I say, when you get a nice pair of pajamas, it's life-changing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
But I'm also working on, it's called Maison Du Soir white label.
Mm-hmm.
In the fall of this year, we're launching tees and fleece. So that
Cool.
is stuff you can wear outside and feel comfy and still look really good. So
Awesome.
working on that
Awesome.
line. But yeah, it's been rough recently. I had a good couple years there for a little bit. But again, I need to listen to my own advice and keep going, because I've built something that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've made it through that part. I feel like I have a brand. And even like we were looking for homes, and the guy who showed us the house was like, "Oh my God, my wife recognized your email because she loves your line." And then when things like that happen, I'm just like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it is confirmation. And like, I just want to be like open and honest to like, to all the listeners. It's like, this podcast is about obviously sharing stories of success and also failures and also real talk. Like the girl that was on Liz Court last week, she's talking about how she's going through a divorce right now. Like we've even had people talk about like, hey, like I almost quit my business. Like,
yeah,
I want everyone listening to know, like, just like you said, like being vulnerable and transparent. Like if we can't be real with one another about our struggles, then what are we doing?
yeah.
Like that's what people need to understand, is that we go through hard things, that we have moments where we want to quit this,
Right.
Like where you're going like, does anybody even care?
Right.
Like, does anybody even want this?
Yeah.
Like you start doubting everything that you've done, and like it doesn't even matter. And then like I love it when you get those little messages, just like you talked about, those confirmations where you're like, I do have my hands on something great.
Yeah.
I am going to stay in this. Like this was given to me, and this has happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's the pivot that has to happen, and the next layer of transformation and evolution. So
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
I'm definitely going through a tough time now where I should probably be listening to the more of the women on here.
Yeah, well, come on, sis. We got it. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the community. We're all in it, and I think that anybody who is telling you, if they're an entrepreneur and they are acting like they've got it all figured out and they are not going through stuff, they are lying.
Exactly. And that does a disservice to other women, pretending like it's rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah. I mean, but here's what I will say. What I have found is that it's worth it. It's
totally
always worth it. It's always worth it. Even that when we can't see it and we're like wanting to pull our hair out and quit. And, I think that everybody listening needs to understand this normal. It's normal. Yeah. It's a part of it. You may want to quit 1,000 times. You'll doubt yourself. You'll, say, should I close the doors, or what do I do? Like it's a normal part of the process.
Right. I think the key is if you can recognize that you're following your passion, that's like sometimes the only thing that keeps you going.
Yeah.
In those times. But I mean, we're going to struggle even if, you're not doing your own thing and you're working, 9 to 5 for someone else. There's struggles there too. There's struggles in everything. So you just you have to choose what is right for you.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Okay. So, share with us a little bit about, like the difficulties that you've gone through, like share with us, like some of maybe the tools that have helped you the most, or like one of the things like, oh, like this like really helped me turn the page, or like, what are some solutions, that you figured out along the way that were super helpful?
I think reaching out, has helped me in the past, whether it be friends or fellow business owners, and just having conversations. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I've struggled the last year, is because being pregnant and having a new baby, you're home all the time and you're not really reaching out or, going out to dinner with friends. And so I think that's probably why I got a little stuck and struggled, because I was spending too much time by myself.
Right. Isolation is a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think reaching out, having both friends and business peers to speak with That has helped. Meditation has helped.
Yes.
Wine has helped as well.
Ain't no shame, girl. So what do you drink, red or white? What's your wine of choice? Anything.
Well, but it's red every night usually, but
okay, gotcha.
Hey,
Cool.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I guess I always feel like when I connect with someone or have a conversation or listen to podcasts or watch videos from trying to like re-inspire yourself or find stories of common struggles is always helpful. And sometimes with me it's a financial, like it's always a cash flow game of chess. And sometimes I'll freak out about it, and sometimes I just say, okay, you just need to let go. It's going to be like, I think sometimes just letting go is helpful.
It's the biggest thing is surrendering, is living from rest. And I think like for so many, like when you're in the entrepreneur space and you're doing this, like it's big risks. You're going to take risk. You're going to invest tons of money into things. And I think that's like one of the questions that I get asked a lot is like, well, like, how do I know I'm going to get my money back? I'm like, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Like, you have to risk. Like, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your ability to figure out and to do it? And I think what I'm hearing you say is like the power of community is so huge.
Yes.
The power of continuing to grow, personal growth, taking care of yourself, like no matter what, like making space to pray or meditate or just to think. I found that for me, as an entrepreneur and somebody that is doing this, it's like I need space away from the phone, social media, like just to think, to do nothing. Like so many of us spend so much of our life just reacting to everything, or for me, like constantly planning. Like constantly planning what's next, what's the vision, what's the next launch, what's the next thing, like all the things, like and it's like I just need space, like to be with my journal and to just think about nothing, to just think and be creative is how I stay passionate and keep things going. So, okay. So tell us about that mom life, because you're a new mother. Again, we already said nobody's got it all figured out. Nobody's an expert, but what have you learned and what have like you loved the most about it?
Gosh, I have learned a lot about letting go.
Yeah.
I think I fall somewhere between like wanting to put my child on a schedule and understanding that she's the boss. But that was when reading and listening to other people actually drove me nuts, because everybody would say, my 6-month-old is on this schedule. She eats at this time. She sleeps at that time. And I'm like,
nope.
What? I'm not doing any of that. Like, I've read books that talk about how important sleep is, and I'm like, oh my God, she's not going to develop properly.
Oh man.
So letting go. If she needs to sleep in the stroller and that's all that's going to work, that's all that's going to work. Like, I just had to, I'm still working on it, let go of the fact, I don't know. It was just, that was hard for me. Not, feeling like I was educating myself by learning about, say, sleep in particular, and even her eating, feeling like I was preparing myself and educating myself, and then realizing when it wasn't going according to how it was supposed to. That was very hard for me. Yeah. And not because it was balancing with work, or it actually wasn't work related at all. It was just that, like, I wanted this was the best for her, but at the end of the day, what's best for her is also who she is. And so that was letting go, and actually not reading.
Yeah. So like, I think what I'm hearing you saying is it's like, it's so good to do the personal development. Hang on just a second. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's my husband. He always calls me right in the middle of when I'm doing a Facebook Live. I don't know how to make it stop ringing on my computer. Okay. So Nate, make sure it's my editor. So Nate, so we'll edit out that phone call, that whole little riff right there. So what I'm hearing you say is like, yeah, the power of personal development is so huge. Like listen to people, get advice, get wisdom. But there's some things at the end of the day, it's like, you've got to figure out what works for you and what works for your family, what works for your marriage, what works for your kids.
Right.
And to own that and not feel guilty about it. And I think as moms, it's like, as women, it's like we're constantly beating ourselves up if like our kids aren't perfect, if it's not like, if we haven't used baby wise down to the T and like our kid is not potty trained and like self-sufficient, like and isn't sleeping through the night, like, like figure out what works for you and just own that and let go of all of the pressure.
Exactly.
There's so much freedom on the other side of that. So, okay. So I love that. And then, so tell us what you've got. You talked about the white label. Tell us a little bit more about that and what you've got launching soon and how people can get their hands on some goodies.
Yeah. Okay. So, we just launched spring, and that will be available. We just have a new, delivery that came in, and that will be really good for Mother's Day. We kind of cater it towards these wonderful holidays. So if there's a special mom or friend that's a mom or whoever you want to gift for Mother's Day, we have such wonderful special things that will make everybody feel so good. So we have that spring line that's catered towards Mother's Day. Then we have a summer line coming out, and then of course fall, and that's all sleepwear. And then in the fall we have the new line coming out. It can be found on our website, which is the best place to go because I hear we have excellent customer service.
Oh, you hear that? That's great.
I actually make that a huge priority. So if anybody reaches out with any questions or anything, you'll either get me or my assistant, Sam. Oh, by the way, it's just me and my assistant, Sam.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you do have good customer service. I love it.
But not a lot of people know that it's just the two of us, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But we are sold at Nordstrom, Anthropologie, Saks, Shopop, Revolve. Those are some of the bigger ones. Goop, too.
Love it. Wow. Okay, so let's just hit on this for just a minute. Is like, what would you say, as I'm sure you've gotten this a lot, is so like women will come to you and be like, I just feel guilty for, it's like this whole like guilt for like investing in quality sleepwear, pajamas, or investing in anything like that's nice. It's like, oh, I just like, what do you, it's like, can't wrap our brains around the fact that it's okay to have nice things, like even to sleep in, like, bum, 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 like, so what would you say to that?
Well, it goes with the whole self-care movement, investing in, your face creams or any of that stuff, or taking the time to take a bath at night. Like, oh, I don't have time. It's like, how do you want to make yourself feel, and how you deserve to feel. And also, I think, I don't know, why do we care so much about the clothes that people see? Yeah. Versus the ones that we don't. Why do we, is it, what's that reason? Because if we're buying, say, one set, like I say, if you want to start out, you get like the basic set and a robe. So you wake up in the morning in your cute set and you have a matching robe to go over it. So like, why not just start with like one piece or like two pieces to complement each other versus to make you feel better versus spending that money on like a disposable t-shirt, one that you'll wear for however long and then get rid of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's like quality things. And like, so I want listeners to understand like what we're talking about too, like with this luxury pajamas, which Courtney has created an incredible company and business brand for, is like the power of dressing for yourself. Like that's one of the big things that I had to like kind of wrap my head around in this season, is like, but what do I like? Because as women, it's like we dress, like you just said, like for other people or for our husband or for our partner or, whatever. It's like, but what about you? Like, why can't you just have something nice for you? Because you feel good, and let's let go of all of the game, the game, the shame and the guilt and like all of that stuff. It's like, you are worthy. It's okay for you to have nice things. It's okay for you to, because it's okay for you to clothe yourself in things that make you feel great and make you feel confident, because here's what I believe. This is what I teach all my gals. You are taking action from your feelings, whether you like them or not. Our thoughts create our feelings create our actions. So for me, it's like, I'm going to do what I need to do to put myself in a place that I feel good.
Exactly.
Because when you feel good, you show up different in the world.
Exactly.
You show up better in the world. You show up more confident in the world. Yeah. And I'm just like all about it. Okay. So
I was actually wondering if maybe I could take you along with me everywhere I go, because
yeah,
summarize everything.
For sure. Yeah. I'll be your pitch girl.
Perfect.
Yeah. Insert Lindsay. She's going to pitch you. I'll do it. Yeah. I'll be like the salesperson for totally will do that. I love it. So so cool. Okay. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so excited to see the new things that are happening. I'm so excited to get my hands on some luxury pajamas. It is on my list for my anniversary, which is May 1st. Husband, if you're listening to this, hello, hook me up. Okay. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Okay. All right. We're done. Let me stop this recording. I'm going to find my mouse.